Hello, bom dia, buenos dias. Welcome to the second event of NANOEATERS, the nanotechnology from the lab to the market applications and funding opportunities. Today, we will have two speakers to tell us more about nanotechnology nowadays and what kind of pathway it takes from the lab to the market. We will also speak about money, opportunities for funding the technology's development. Our first speaker is dearest to us INLers, Professor Lars Montelius, the Director General of INL, that was kind enough to accept our invitation to present us with the vast knowledge and experience with nanotechnology. Professor Lars is INL's DG since 2014, but he started much earlier in this nano area. He was a professor in nanotechnology at Lund University in Sweden. He was also Dean of the Physics Department, Science and Engineering faculties at the same university, Lund, and director of the Öresund University and Öresund Science Region, which is a cooperation of 11 universities in 3 regional authorities in 2 different countries. Importantly, Professor Lars has also a very entrepreneur side because he has founded several Swedish companies working with nanotechnology, which is actually important for our event today. We could continue on and on, but I believe that better than his CV, you will be thrilled with his passion for nanotechnology that you will for sure see in his talk. As for our second part of the event, we will have Maria Gómez-Reino Pérez with us from Econet that will present us the best opportunities to make our dreams come true. Professional dreams, of course. She will tell us about cascade funding and European opportunities for SMEs. Maria did her graduation in environmental sciences, and she also completed a master in corporate social responsibility. She has been working with Econet since 2019 as a senior consultant specialized in European projects, working on proposal writing and peer review of projects from different funding programs. Previously to Econet, Maria acquired her experience in the European funding by working on planning, coordination, and management in different European associations in Brussels. So I would like to thank to both Professor Lars and Maria for your availability and commitment. And I hope that you all enjoy our 2 talks. We will have questions and answers at the end, so please do your questions, feel free. This is for all of you. And I also wanted to tell you that if you want, you will see that in the bottom of your screen, you have a globe with interpretation legend, subtitle, So you can actually click there and have a translator, a direct translator in Portuguese, Spanish, or English. So with no further ado, I give the stage to Professor Lars. Thank you, Professor Lars.
Thank you so much, Marina, for a very nice introduction. It's a pleasure for me to be here today and share with you some of my ideas and my acquired knowledge over the years I've been working on nanotechnology. So I will start by sharing my presentation, and then hopefully it will work. I guess you see it now, right? So the title was Nanotechnology in Your Daily Life. And I think this is a very important topic because for many people, nanotechnology is kind of not really known so much. So I will try to give you an overview, but also give you some insights. So this is my first slide now. So what do you see here? It looks like, I think, like a spaceship in a way. It's a stainless steel construction. This is in the square of Braga, in the city square of Braga. And this was in the evening, as you see from the light. And the next day, it transformed a bit. And then it had these kind of greenish kind of cushions on top of it. And these greenish kind of cushions, they contained algae, living algae. that during the sunlight, during the day, was replicated through the photosynthetic process that made it possible to grow algae, but more importantly, to harvest energy from the sun in order to have a production of protein. So this was a artistic way to present the importance and the possibilities for nanotechnology, that is really something that can have an impact for every citizen. So this was a way to communicate to the city, and we had it there in the square, main square of the city of Braga, for I think 3-4 months in exhibition. So it was the first living exhibition of a folly, which was out on the scene, that people could just walk past by, they could look on, they could talk with each other. And we had some sensors collecting the information about how many people were approaching, how long time they spend there, etc., etc. And all this data we later gave to a composer, and he made music out of this. So it became a music play. So it's interesting how we can use nanotechnology to come closer to people. Of course, this is maybe a bit artificial in a way. We have school classes there, we have science cafes, etc. So this is one way of moving nanotechnology to the society. Here's another picture. So this is a picture from a street in Ho Chi Minh City, or in Saigon. And what you see here is, of course, people are having they're eating. This is an evening picture. They're eating, talking with each other, driving motorbikes, etc. So a very typical street view. If you use your imagination, you can say that here we can see plenty of possibilities for nanotechnology. Of course, this is just now Gedanken experiment, so to say. This is what we can think about. It could be eye implants, it could be glucose detectors, it could be insulin pumps, it could be neural devices, hip implants, food quality detectors, etc. So this is to illustrate the kind of impact that technology can have, and how it is all around us, and specifically the nanotechnology, which is a part of the technology. I will come back later to that, and how the technology is really immersive and how it can have radical changes. Just as an example of the Forbes 500 companies, 40% of them will be replaced in a 10-year perspective by new companies that we presently have no idea what they will work with. So there are new kind of professions, new kind of companies, and new kind of technologies for sure, and new kind of skills needed in the future, and also giving opportunities for people, of course. So coming back to the question now, what is nanotechnology? I think when I started with nanotechnology, like 30 years ago or so, 40 maybe, then most people started with a scale and say nanotechnology is something very, very small. I think that is not very interesting to speak about the scale. It's really about what can it make. That is the most important thing. So without nanotechnology, what we wouldn't have had today in society, we wouldn't have Facebook, we wouldn't have Google, we wouldn't have Spotify, we wouldn't have the things that we have around us. So nanotechnology is really something that has been emerging. It's a key enabling technology, a KET, that is what the KET stands for. And it's something that is, I would say, really very much advanced into society of today. And they are everywhere, these KETs. So all our mobile phones, it goes to our cars, for instance, all the sensors in the cars, the LiDAR sensors, the communication between cars, the new infotainment systems, how we go into the battery of the future with having sensing capabilities in order to secure that the battery life is optimal, and the ways how we can use it in all kinds of dimensions. So it's kind of everywhere, the KETs, and nanotechnology is one important area for the KETs. There is one thing that is very interesting for these key enabling technologies, and that is when we look at the funding. that is available to startup companies, so venture capital deals in Europe between 2005 2016. That is this graph here. And the things that are hardware related are the things that are red here. And all the green ones are more internet software related. And I think it's obvious to see here that our key enabling technologies that is hardware oriented have a very low fraction of the venture capital deals. And the reason for that is, of course, that the hardware is a key enabler. It enables all the software applications. It enables all the, let's call it, higher level ventures in society. But it is a key enabling technology. And by putting more efforts into the key enabling technologies, it would be possible, I believe, to have a stronger and quicker deployment of key enabling technologies into society. So just to give you some view about where nanotechnology kind of started. Nanotechnology started with electronics. That is the kind of basic for it. And it was the electronic race. It was the possibility to downsize electronic component circuits to make them smaller, and by that making them more, let's call it, intelligent or more speedy, having more possibilities to process data. And that was the evolution since the post-Second World War kind of development, particularly happening in Silicon Valley, but then widespread worldwide. And so this was a very, very big drive that made all these new companies coming up that are taking part of this. So we have the Fairchild, etc., and all the other semiconductor companies. And this was really radical innovation. So you went from these electron tubes that you see to the left bottom part to transistors, chips using semiconductor materials that you see on the color picture in the middle here, and also the first integrated circuit that you see to the right upper corner, the grayish part. And this made all the things revolutionizing. So every kind of 18 months, the capacity for the chips doubled while the price lowered a factor of 2. And this possibility to implement much, much more kind of processing data was the key for the electronics innovation. So if we look at nanotechnology innovation, I just show you one graph. It's a bit messy now, and maybe you cannot see it in detail, but it kind of describes the beginning of nanotechnology. And the really very first beginning was 1959, where a very famous scientist, Richard Feynman, had a lecture about nanotechnology. And the title of his talk was "There is plenty of room at the bottom." And it was all about a Gedanken experiment, saying that what if we could manipulate matter at the atomic scale? What would then happen? And then there were predictions what could happen. And this was really the start of the possibilities, opening the horizons for many people to say, well, maybe this is not totally unlikely that this will happen. And this was the driving start. And with that come a lot of inventions or innovations, if you like, along the path. The first one, I would say, that really kickstarted the possibilities to actually manipulate matter at the atomic scale was the invention of the scanner tunnel microscope that was awarded the Nobel Prize 1986 to Bini. And then came a lot of other things as consequences of that. As we know the graphene, for instance, also Nobel Prize winners. And we know the blue LEDs recently, 2014, by the three Japanese, Akasaki, Amano, and Nakamura, who actually revolutionized the ways how to make blue LEDs, and then also to make UV LEDs in order to decontaminate water or decontaminate surfaces, etc. So there is a continuous development using nanotechnology or advanced materials. And some of the highlights you can see there in the middle. And it goes into all kind of dimensions in society of today. So I share with you here a picture. This is something that was very dear to me when I was young, younger than I am now. So maybe about 20 years ago or so. I started to work at Lund University with people from the neurosciences. And it was about deep brain stimulation. And it was with people having severe Parkinson. And the idea was to ability to implant electrodes into the brain, deep brain implants. And we wanted to do it in a different way than the traditional deep brain implants were done, because they were with big kind of material that you put into the brain, which made some damages, because the brain is like jelly, and every time you breathe, your brain is moving, and if you have something big in your brain that is fixed, then the brain will move around that fixed thing, and you get scar and tissues reactions. So we want to do something very, very simple in a way that it is small, flexible, so more like a feather in a way that you put into the brain. And I just show you the very important example that can happen. I have a video here that I will share with you. You can see this person. This is a person having rather severe Parkinson, difficulties to drink water. And he has a brain implant. And then the nurse comes just to show that it's something that you can turn on. And now he's perfectly able to be fully functional in society, drinking his water as he likes. So the power of using technology in order to improve people's lives and people's health states really thrilled me a lot. And it made me I was devote my life to the nanotechnology, not my scientific life. Let me see. Yes. Another part that I took up very early on was to work on some lithography things, and specifically nano-imprint lithography. And this is a mega kind of industry nowadays. And it's used in all kinds of things. It's used for data storage, for lighting, for energy, optics, virtual reality, the pharma sector, biotech sector, semiconductor sector, etc. So it's about $1 trillion. Everything coming from the kind of idea that you could actually print things at the nanoscale. Now we're coming to the scale. So nanometer is a thousands of a million, so 10 to minus 9 meters. So very, very small. And the idea was the possibility to print these very tiny things over large areas in a very simple kind of step and print kind of methodology. And when we started that work, people in the sector, in my colleagues, they were saying, well, this is impossible. It will never work. And it was actually possible. We made the first large area imprint in 18 months after that statement from my colleagues. So we showed the possibilities, and out of that came a bustling kind of development into society. I will not speak about the details here, I just wanted to show it. So what do nanotechnology offer, right? So we can say it offers some kind of solutions to all these kind of problems. I mean, energy, water, health, Internet of Things, hermeneutics, space, construction, advanced manufacturing, what you name it. It offers some possibilities. So in a way, we are having problems, right? Because we're coming with solutions to people that maybe are just too busy. They don't listen because they don't understand why nanotechnology could have any implication on their vector or their sector in companies, for instance. So you can say, is this a blessing that we can work on nanotechnology that we can deploy in all these kind of different domains and dimensions, or is it really a problem? So, and I would say it's both. Right? So it's a blessing that we can kind of use the generic characters of nanotechnology and move it, tweak it so it fits a certain application, and then we can work in that certain application. It is a problem when it comes to trying to explain to, let's say, venture capitalists why they should put money into our ideas, because I think you are too diverse and you need to focus. You need to only to do one thing, which is contradictory to what nanotechnology is. Nanotechnology is about the convergence of technologies. So it's not a new technology. It's the convergence of all technologies into the scale of nano size, if you call it, or the nanoscale, and then the deployment or the divergence into society. So it's always a convergence coming closer, and then divergence, and then a new convergence, and a new divergence. And this is the kind of development pace of nanotechnology. So what is very important is this possibility to not only speak about the nanotechnology, but actually the meaning of it. And I just give you one comic strip here. There is a guy, he's cutting stone, right? So you can see that from this comic strip. And then a person comes by and says, "What are you doing?" And he answers, "I'm cutting stone." So that's perfect. That's all right. That's exactly what this person do. And if we as scientists are always answering questions like that, what are you doing? And say, "Well, I'm doing this thing because it's very important, blah, blah, blah." That is a fully valid answer, right? But there is a much more interesting answer, and that is to say that I'm building a cathedral. If you say that what you are aiming for, what is the implication of your technology, what will be the result that you would like to create, then people are starting to listen. So it's very important, this kind of articulation, not to speak to, of course, with your colleague, you speak about the science deeply, but you need to articulate it with society in a way that society can understand. So let's look at the challenges ahead. So, and what are the real mega trends that we're seeing around us? So for sure, we can list here, and this is interesting. This is a slide I made many years ago, but you can see here that one of the topics was pandemics. At that point, just a Gedanken thing. I mean, people were saying, well, there will be pandemics, and we said, yeah, maybe that's so. But that would be to have rapid access to vaccinations, different kind of vehicles, different systems for rapid response for society, etc. And now in the pandemic's aftermath, so to say, we're still in it. We can see that these predictions, they actually were there, right? So these are some of the grand challenges. Global warming, of course, we are now at the tipping edge, what we can really sustain. Water supply, one of the most critical issues of present society. Food supply, of course, also one of the most pressing issues in society. How can we create food for everyone? And how can we reduce wasting food? Throwing away food that is still eatable. Public health, aging societies is one part that is very important, which relates with the health system in itself. I will speak a little bit more about that later. And then security issues, of course, how to have more secure things. And it can go to, I mean, let's say vaccination passports, etc. It goes to blockchain possibilities to have traceability of materials and traceability of food, to secure food supply that is good food, etc. So there are many things, many dimensions in, but all these bigger grand challenges, nanotechnology and advanced materials do have a lot of things to add, and it can a lot of things can happen there. Other mega trends, of course, is that society is becoming immensely connected. So I think also the pandemics now have given us the evidence that we can have a very good communication through connectivity rather than being in the same room together. But still, the society is, of course, becoming more and more connected. We have seen the sharing economy started many years ago, and it's flourishing. So this is happening. We're having the lifestyles. So never before have the lifestyle having so big impact. We have different possibilities for different people in different countries, of course. We have the migration issues, we have the aging population, we have the new generation of people, the urban living style, etc. And the new generation, very healthy, creating a strong push on the sustainability issues in society, which is very, very good. So all these things are there. If you take one specific example, health, for instance. So what is happening in health? We have the aging population I spoke about before. We have the urbanization, food supply, very important for the health. The clean water, pandemics, lifestyles, obesity, multi-sickness panorama, big data, history, and experiences. So everything kind of boils down, if you think about all these things, to something that we need to do. And that is to address the health system that we have today. Today, we have a health system that principally is directed to take care about people that are sick. while the modern health system will be much more predictive and do much more predictive maintenance of our bodies to secure that we stay well, rather than getting sick and then being treated to become well again. So it's more about kind of predictiveness. So the health system is going there, and in order to come there, we need this holistic, inclusive health perspective. We need to integrate all the different actors and moving together in an ecosystem, because all kind of different sciences or different sectors are needed in order to battle this. If we speak now about the next technology wave, what is happening around us, I think it's becoming obvious for everyone that we're having the artificial intelligence, the AI is very, very important for the future. But with that comes also other things like virtual reality, augmented reality, the big data is part of artificial intelligence. That's the way how to treat the big data, the blockchain I spoke about before. So these things are the, let's say, the mega things happening right now. And we can address that with our technologies, of course, and nanotechnology has a very, very, very big impact. So here's another question. This is probably difficult to see what this is. It's a picture. I just have this to illustrate the sensors that we're having around us. Sensors are things that measure some properties. And if you have a good sensor, you will be able to measure the property. In this is a picture. If I zoom out, we can see what this picture is. It's a part from a beach, and it's part of a rope. And now it's easy to see it. So with the right sensor, it's possible to get information that you can treat. With the wrong sensor, you get information that you have no idea what it means. So the reliability in sensors are very, very important. And it makes us to come to the trillions of sensors economy. And the forecast is that we will have 5 million new jobs and 38 million new jobs, industrial workers, and 129 indirect jobs being created. Just to give you some feeling, in 2013, 144 million jobs existed in the United States. So we will create, according to this forecast, many, many more jobs in this trillions of sensors economy, which goes in all different vectors. It goes to health, it goes to mobility, it goes to electrification of society, it goes to sustainability, it goes to water management, etc. So these sensors will be there. And the kind of generic part of the sensors is what you can see to the left here in this picture. This is the micro and nano to quantum sensors. They used to be a kind of general, and now they're becoming more and more specific. And the reason for that is, of course, that we can make them with the scale of economy that we have to be more specific. And then the sensors will send something, so they measure something. And what they measure needs to be communicated. And here we had speed and security. We had the 5G, 6G, the quantum communication in the future that will enable this kind of safe and secure transmission. Then comes the computation, and then comes the analysis. And all these things is kind of let's call it the digital society, if you like. And nanotechnology has a saying in all these things. It goes for the sensors, which actually use nanotechnology to make them to be specific, measuring one specific property or another specific properties with very low power consumption. Because if we don't change the way we create sensors and harvest energy from the environment around us, it will be very difficult to continue to deploy energy to the growing society. And then the communication is, of course, about how we can deploy different communication schemes coming from hardware that is nanotechnology related. The computation that goes from computers to supercomputers, high performance computers, and quantum computers, which is all related with nanotechnology and advanced materials. And then the analysis goes to this AI and deep learning analysis, also using hardware in order to be able to do that. So the digital economy in Europe is kind of captured in, I would say, in this kind of picture. And just to give you a feeling what is happening. So I think in the Internet of Things, if you look, okay, this picture, this is a picture from 2016. What happens in an Internet minute? So in 1 minute, 2016, we send 150 million emails. We had 20 million WhatsApp messages. We had 38 hours of music through Spotify in 1 minute. We'd had $200,000 in sales at Amazon, for instance, 51,000 App Store or app downloads from Apple App Store in 1 minute. So it's enormous, this kind of dimension. And of course, what is happening now is that the devices, they are containing functions, they're all interconnected. We have billions of devices. So the Internet of Things is going to something that we call the Internet of Senses. So they will be connected, they will transmit sensations. And what is happening is that our kind of devices, they are moving from being objects to become subjects. We already have it now in our homes. Maybe some of you have Siri or the Amazon's, I don't remember the name now, that you can speak with. So speaking and talking and interpreting your gestures is something that is driving the communication for the future. So we have all these things. So the objects are becoming more subject-like, that is for sure. So human, robot, or both. So this is one way. What is very important in this kind of scheme is the emotional aspect. So we all would like to have safe and secure society. And what we are creating more and more, specifically our young generations are creating meaning. They demand meaningful jobs, and nanotechnology is a fantastic possibility because it's really about meaningfulness. So it offers people the possibilities to work with things that have a big impact in society, really very meaningful. Another thing that is happening is that the science and innovation landscape is a bit changing. So in the past, it was a lot about racing for excellence and national pride, etc. And nowadays is more racing together. So there is this kind of saying that if you would like to go far, you go yourself, but if you would like to reach out much, you go together with others. So it's about really working together. And then, as we all see it with the digitalization, is that everything is becoming digital, and the valorization of everything then means the digital landscape, or it's the data that is the, let's call it the new gold or the new oil of society. So everything is in the data. So you need to use the hardware, you need to transfer it to some kind of high order, and then you can explore it through digitalization. And all these kind of how to explore the key enabling technologies has to do with, principally you have two models. You have the horizontal and the vertical model. If you do the horizontal model, then you are working on the technology and then you spin it out in different applications. So you have one key aspect in the middle where you explore the kind of different possibilities, and then you turn them into the possibility. And the vertical is that every vertical, let's say car industry, the food sector, the sustainable sector, they all go in their own vertical and don't speak with each other. And that is a bit risky because there is a risk that the technology will not be developed in the most best way, and there will be a slow diffusion between the different verticals. If you do it through the horizontal model, it is most likely more rapid way. So with that, I just would like to, I think I'm starting to ending my time, right? Let me see my time.
Still have some minutes.
Yeah, more or less.
Lars.
Yeah, good. So just to say some few words about INL. So INL is an intergovernmental research organization. We're headquartered in Braga, and right now we are about 450 people working there. I think we're all very passionate. We work on meaningful things. We would like to explore our knowledge into society, deploying the knowledge with society, and we work in different ways. So we have been on a startup program, incubator, INL Life Ventures, a Travis program, which is a way to convey science to artists by having artists in residencies at INL, etc. And we also work international. Let's say we have representation, different parts: Israel, Brussels, Canada, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Austin, Boston, California as well, and Dubai. So we are working with the communities out there. What I would like to, before ending, I would like to give some, there may be some young people that are listening to this, and I would like to give some kind of, I would say, recommendation or advice. So before ending, so career development guidelines, that I think is very important. So it's about research is for a reason. It's about articulation. So we cut stones in research, but we do it for building cathedrals. So to understand what is the reason why we do the research is very important. The research is often complex, it's often multi-sectorial, it's often interdisciplinary. So we need the combination of different things, and we need to be open, we need to talk with each other, we need to discuss with each other very openly. And the advice is to engage yourself interdisciplinary, but become expert in one field. I mean, you should have one kind of core element that you really master very well, but then you should expand your knowledge interdisciplinary in order to be able to really speak about why you do the research, what is the reason for it. And then ask questions. There are no stupid questions, and be honest to yourself. If you don't understand, you must ask. It's very difficult to kind of gain knowledge by yourself. Use the people around you, because these questions, even if they are in a way you may feel that they are simple, they are not. And these questions usually help both people, both the person that speak about something or talk about something, to understand how is it interpreted or perceived from the other party. And that means that there is a learning development process that is available for this. Networking is very important. So make goals with these networkings. If you go to different conferences or meetings, have a goal. Look who will come. What is the someone I would like to speak with, and try to find that person to speak with that person. If there is no specific person that you would like to speak with, take pride in never leave a network without having made a few new friends. Make a goal for yourself, maybe 5 from each sex. So 5 female, 5 male. And then that is the way that we can move forward. And that is also a way to secure that we will have a much more equal future together. And then you should develop your elevator pitch, because when you start this networking, you will need to say that in very few words what you actually do. You need to speak about the cathedrals so people pay attention. If you don't do that, there is a risk that people are listening kindly, and then I say, thank you very much, it was nice speaking with you, and then that's it. So develop your elevator pitch. Set the goals for yourself that are within reach, that you can reach. And then there are 2 most important questions in life. And they are the following. So, who am I? This is very important. It's not what I do, but who am I? And then, what do I want? If you answer these 2 questions, then you have a big chance to be able to do all this networking. You have a big chance to become very successful in your career, whatever the career is. And then lately, I think this is a picture I took from Brussels airport some years ago. I like it a lot. The passion is the distinction between doing and excelling. So if you are passionate about something, you are putting all your efforts into actually coming to a solution that is meaningful. And the passion, I think, is something that we need in society a lot. And I think this is something that we're having at INL, where we have people that are really working on meaningful things. And we would like to welcome you all to INL, and we would like you all to take use of our facility. We are open to use the facility. We're open to the world. People can come, people can use our equipment. We can do things for you. We can work together with you, and we're here to support you. So with these words, I will say thank you so much, and welcome to INL. And if there are some questions that I may not have seen, I would be happy to answer these questions, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Lars. It was a very, very interesting presentation talk. We knew that. We knew that you, of course, would show your passion for nanotechnology. And it's really nice to have you here. So we do have a question from Africa. Hi, Africa. So the question is, what do you think about the future of microchips if raw products are being more and more difficult to obtain? Which alternative the future technology will have?
It's a good question. So I think the question has principally maybe 2 or 3 different answers that are all interlinked. One answer is, of course, that raw material will be more and more difficult to find, probably, but we also need to develop green methods in order to actually, let's go harvest those raw materials that do exist, but it has to be done in a very green way, so we don't waste different kind of values that exist in nature. So it has to be, let's call it green mining or green harvesting. That's one thing. The second thing is the recycling. So we need to learn how to recycle materials. We cannot do the way we do today, where we don't do good recycling. And also the recycling needs to be green. And then thirdly, we need to find alternatives that are not based on the raw materials, but have similar performance or even enhanced performances. And there are many things that we can look on. I mean, I think people are doing it more and more, and that is in the biomimetic world, where we look on biological entities that has been through billions of years during evolution, creating different things like anti-reflective coatings that are anti-reflecting structures that are put on different parts for insects, for instance, in order for them to not be visible through reflection in the dark, so they can survive. So a lot of things that we can do that is mimicking what nature has been doing, and even understanding now with our abilities to do big data analysis and high performance computing to do modeling, and then better and better understand how can we even improve what nature has done and make it more, let's say, more sustainable, and in a way that we reserve the possessions that we have within the earth. We cannot continue the way we have been doing until now, I would say.
Very good, thanks. There's another question here from Amidreza. I hope that I'm spelling correctly the name. I would like to know if INL has incubation programs right now.
Yes, we have. So we are open for incubation, and the threshold is that this is for companies. So it is not for big companies. So it's incubation for startups, spin out to startups. So in the early phase, and the threshold is that what we have at INL should be meaningful for the company. So we cannot, I mean, if someone is coming that would just do, let's say, a software development, it's not, INL is not the place for that. So it should be related with our core activities, and if so, then you are welcome to be incubated. There is a fee for that, of course, and there are some advantages, so like services, etc. And there is always possibilities to become incubated, which I think is a very good way to have I would say a strong connectivity to the very interdisciplinary team at INL, where we have people from all disciplines: physics, mathematics, chemistry, biology, etc., working together. So I would say that I think it's an ideal place to have an incubation company in order to get all access to the different competencies that you actually need.
Exactly, and if you want to actually explore this chance, this opportunity, you just have to send us an email and we can discuss this deeper. There's another, not question, but actually a compliment to you, Professor Lars. He says, thank you, Lars, for the excellent overview. It's Vasco Teixeira. So he really enjoyed the talk. And we are done with the public the participants' questions. I don't know if you have any more. If you do, please write it down in the chat. Meanwhile, and since we still have a few minutes, I would like to do you some questions. Well, actually, it's two questions that are related. So one of the things that I feel working at INL is that sometimes there's fear of nanotechnology nowadays. It's true that is becoming smaller, but it exists. So my question is the solution in the education aside with the research in nanosafety, or is there any other option? What is the solution for this fear of nanotechnology in our days? Is the fear of the unknown? Is what?
Well, I mean, this is a tricky question. Right? I think what is very important is that all of us that work on nanotechnology, we do not fear that question, right? That we kind of hide from it. So we need to speak about it. We need to speak with people and listen to what do they actually fear. What is it about? Because the most difficult part would be if this becomes like things that you feel with your stomach, so to say, and then there is no science that can help that, so to say. So we need to be proactive. We need to speak about these things. We cannot hide about it. We need to speak about it, and it's really about the safety aspect. So I mean, everything is kind of maybe not everything, but most of the things are very, very dangerous in life, right? I mean, if you bike on a street, or if you drink too much water, I mean, you will also die. But we learn how to what are the limits, so to say. And I think this is very important that we have these safety boundaries, that we know that within these boundaries it's safe, and this is one of the most important things. And I think this is a challenge, but it's a challenge for all technologies. I mean, it's the same if you make a knife. I mean, a knife is perfect to have in your kitchen. It's not so nice when you have it in a fight, right?
Yeah.
So it's a weapon as well. So I think we need to have a discussion in society, and we cannot hide about that. And I'm very happy now at INL, we do have a very strong activity now in safety aspects that we couldn't afford before, but now we can afford it, which is very, very, very important. And working together in society about these aspects are extremely important.
Thanks. And actually, the second question was a follow-up to this one, because is it possible that due to this fear, the deployment of nanotechnology into the market becomes more difficult? So the famous valley of death that normally exists for the other technology looks more deeper for nanotechnology. Is that true? You that already have some experience in deployment technology into the market, did you feel this when you were trying to deploy it into the society?
I don't. No. The simple answer is no. I never felt that, so to say. I mean, the fear that was felt was more that what is really nanotechnology? How can that help? So it was the articulation that was the biggest struggle to overcome, so to say. I mean, to show really what are the benefits of using the technologies that we try to push for. The other aspect, it's I think you have two ways. I mean, I know there are companies in certain sectors that say they don't speak about nanotechnology because they don't have good answers, and they don't have time and effort to spend on having answers to questions, so they rather not get the questions. And I think that is a bit hiding, because you kind of wash, and let's say, safety wash it or greenwash it in a way. I mean, you wash it away and say, well, it's not an issue. We don't speak about it, but they all know they do have it in their products, and they don't speak about it because they know it's safe, and they don't want to, how can they wake up the bear that is sleeping. But I think it doesn't go the right way. So I think we need to engage with it. We need to speak about it. We need to have it in society. We cannot let it be on the edge somewhere, because then it's a risk it will come back, and then we will not have the chance to explain it. So I think it's very important that we speak about it.
Exactly, and that's what we are doing here, and hope to do many times.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, Professor Lars.
Thank you.
So now we can move to the next talk, to the next speaker, which is Maria from Econet. Maria, are you there? Hi, Maria. You are muted.
Hello. Hi, good morning.
Thank you, Maria, for your time. Maria will, as I told you in the beginning, Maria will tell us about how to get the fundings for our ideas in Europe, and also cascade funding. She will talk us about a little bit of everything, so we know exactly how we can reach out to our professional dreams, right?
Yeah, sure.
So thank you, Maria. The floor is yours.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Please.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, one sec.
You can see it, but not in the presentation mode. And
now you can see. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Professor Lars, for the interesting presentation. I really enjoyed it. So now, as Marina said, I'm gonna, well, try to explain you a little bit how is the financing opportunities that we have out there, especially now that we are, well, beginning the new framework program of 21-27. Okay, so well, as you said, I'm gonna be explaining what's cascade funding, okay, giving you a brief explanation about it, and well, what is it about and where you can find more information, okay, and then I'm gonna explain you the new funding period, okay, with a focus on Horizon Europe and in the, well, EIC accelerator, which is basically the most preferred instrument for the SMEs usually. Okay, so, well, before getting into detail, I'm gonna briefly explain you who we are, okay? So as Econet, we are a consultancy, okay, that specialize on public funding with a focus on EU funding. We have been working since 1991 on EU funding, and we work actually in the whole cycle of the projects, okay? So since you have an idea and you are looking for an EU grant for this project, okay, so then once you know to which EU project you want to apply, if you need somebody to help you with writing this proposal or making a peer review, we can also help you there. And then once you have the funding, we can also help you managing those funds. And also in parallel to this, we offer also some trainings about all this process. Well, we are not only Econet, okay, we are the mother company of the Funding Box group, which is actually a group which is specialized on cascade funding, okay, so it's been rather successful, and in the past years, it's, well, now they are managing around 28 cascade funding projects, okay, where they have more than 60 open calls. They have attracted a cascade funding well, budget of 137 million euros, okay, so we are rather experienced on these cascade funding opportunities. So now getting into the interesting, well, details of what's out there about the public funding, okay, we're gonna begin with the cascade funding. Well, actually now it's getting more known about what's cascade funding, so many of you might already know what it is, okay, so this is, well, the scheme of what's cascade funding, okay? So we have the European Commission, okay? So they award these grants to the projects. These projects are made out of the beneficiaries, okay? Now these two steps are the normal steps of an EU grant, okay? But now the cascade funding comes in this third step that we have here, that is the projects itself, the ones who are allocating this financial support, okay, to these grant recipients, which are these third parties. These third parties, they can be SMEs, they can be startups, and in some cases, they can also be universities or RTOs, okay? So the difference of this cascade funding is that you are not getting directly this EU money from the European Commission, okay, but you are getting the money directly from a project who has been awarded by the European Commission, okay? So there is one step in between, and that is why it is called for cascade funding, okay? So Now, what is this cascade funding? Okay, even though it's not awarded directly by the European Commission, okay, it's also a competitive process, okay, and open to the public. Okay, so I mean, you will be evaluated by some evaluators also. There will be a set of criteria that you will be awarded for. Okay, so it's really a competitive and open process. So it's within the EU programs, okay? So it has been running since Horizon 2020. It will also continue on Horizon Europe, okay? I think it will be increased even on Horizon Europe, the projects itself that will be having Horizon cascade funding opportunities. And finally, well, actually, what these cascade funding programs, projects, open calls, what they want is to select final beneficiaries, okay? So for example, they are aiming at supporting pilots or demonstration of or experiments, okay? That will be undertaken by these startups, these SMEs, okay? On specific innovative technologies, okay? So it's rather technology specific normally, okay? They are technology projects normally. Then there are some exceptions, and it's open to many topics, as we will see. Then what it can happen that, for example, the projects, they want to integrate more participants into the project, okay? So they want to extend this scope or other specific targets. It can also be to select some tech startups or scale-ups for acceleration or incubation purposes, okay? So, well, actually the reasons or the aimings that these projects have can be different, okay? So, what they have to offer, why they are interesting, okay? So the projects normally, they can offer either financial support and acceleration, or there are some of them which they just offer this financial support or just the acceleration, okay? It depends a little bit on which is the case. So this financial support is in the form of grants, okay? And then the acceleration is different depending on the project. So you can have mentoring and training. The mentoring means, for example, some projects, they have some mentoring on public funding, okay? So this means, for example, they will have some, mentors specialized on public funding that they will try to explain you which other options for public funding you might have for your project, okay? Outside this cascade funding one, okay? Then they will help you if you are interested to access venture capital, for example. Then a very important thing is that you will be able to network and to, well, gain more contacts on your specific field, okay? And then some of them, they also have some internationalization services, okay? So this is what you can have from this cascade funding. And then why they are so normally so interesting for SMEs, okay? So first of all is the simplified submission, okay? So they are not comparable with the traditional Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe projects, as the other ones, they are very big and very complex and we can say hard to get, okay? Because you need to invest a lot of time in writing this kind of projects, okay? And they normally have to be collaborative projects in big consortium, so and very competitive. So normally these ones are simplified, okay? So the application phase is simpler and more attractive. They can be in the form of collaborative projects, but they are normally 1, 2, 3, depends a little bit, but normally they are smaller. Also, the financial contribution is smaller, okay? It can be, I don't know, around 50K, sometimes 100K, you know, it's a bit different on the projects, but it's also smaller, okay? And then it's not so time consuming, okay? They say that as an average, it can be, I don't know, around a week or something like that to build a proposal. Then of course, there's always exceptions, okay? But this is somehow of an average, okay? So you have to, well, invest less time, and then the time to grant is also, well, shorter, okay? Then also the reporting, sorry, is easier. They are normally in the form of lump sum. So, well, is like the grant paid against milestones. So you complete the milestones, you get paid. So you have less paperwork because normally these projects are directed to SMEs. So they try to make it, well, easier, let's say, okay? Then Another thing why normally the SMEs are interested is because they try to bring this technology to the market, okay? They try to facilitate this adoption of this new digital technologies, okay? So the companies can test before invest, okay? So they can test these things that the project is developing, for example, and then also they help the companies to understand these new opportunities and the return of investments that they might have. And finally, as we said before, we also have this, well, access to networking and other services, okay? Technical support by experts in the field, for example, this business mentoring, this access to private funding in the case you might be interested, and also these business contacts with key players at international level, okay? So as these projects normally are international projects, okay, so you will have access really to an international network of people who is specializing in the field you are applying, okay? So in terms of networking, it's rather interesting. Then the cascade funding. So now you get an overview of what it is, okay? So now this slide is to show you that really, well, we have cascade funding in a really big set of, of topics, okay? So, well, it can be either grouped, for example, under the big initiatives, okay? Like Smart Anything Everywhere, I4MS, which is ICT Innovation for Manufacturing, okay, and also NGI, which is Next Generation of Internet. So under this big initiative, we have topics for cascade funding, okay, but not only there, okay, also outside there we have some, and we can also group them under big topics of technology. Which ones they are? Well, we have artificial intelligence, we have blockchains, we have robotics, big data, photonics, agri-food, circular economy, manufacturing, smart homes, healthy aging, okay? This is just an example of some topics, then always there are exceptions and some ones which might be outside these ones, okay? Now here in the next slide, you will see an example, okay, of the universe of cascade funding. This is just, well, in this slide where I'm trying to show, okay, is the, well, under the different topics, the many cascade funding projects that are inside, okay? These are names of different cascade funding projects that we have under the different, well, topics to say. For example, in energy, in this case, as an example, we have this, well, interconnect project, for example, which is about interoperable solutions, connecting smart homes, buildings, and grids. We also have as another example, the Platoon, okay, which is a digital platform and an analytic tool for the energy, sorry, okay. Then if we go to manufacturing, for example, okay, we have here the Galactica project that is, for example, a smart industrial innovation as enabler to drive new value chains for textiles and aerospace, okay. We have another example here, which is the Change to Twin, which is about creating and harvest offerings to support manufacturing SMEs to become digital twin champions, okay? And then if we go, for example, to circular economy, we have the DigiCirc, okay, which is an European cluster-led accelerator for digitalization of circular economy across key emerging sectors. So this is just to show you that is a wide variety of topics, okay? Also, then you will see, well, the sources of information, but a very important thing of the cascade funding solutions, opportunities, okay, is that they open and close quite frequently, okay? So if you are interested in them, well, it's important that you come to the, then I will put you this where you can find the information, okay? So you can go to the Commission website, okay, and see what's open, what's closed, so you are a bit up to date with what's in there, okay? Because as I said, they open close quite frequently. Also, when you know, for example, a project in which you are interested, what you can do also is go to this project's website and to see if they foresee already when they will be having the calls, okay? Because normally the projects have, I don't know, some of them yearly calls, for example, they will have a couple of them in 2021, then they will have another one in 2022, okay? So you can plan a little bit your actions there. Okay, this is another overview. As I said, it is not only organized by topics, okay, it's also under the big initiatives. This is the initiative of Smart Anything Everywhere. So under the initiative of Smart Anything Everywhere, okay, we have a set of projects in this case that they are issuing these open calls. You can see here this is from the website of Smart Anything Everywhere, okay? You can see the overview of open calls in 2021. This is to illustrate what I was trying to explain, okay? That there are several along the year, okay? They open and close, there are different open calls from the different projects, okay? These projects are, for example, this DIH for CPS, is to fostering this DIH, which are the digital innovation hubs, okay? In this case, for embedding interoperability in cyber physical systems of European SMEs, okay? Another example we have here, this DigiFed, which is having now some open calls, okay? Which is, again, about digital innovation hubs, okay? And then another example, oh, sorry, I skipped this one, is this Bowie. Okay, Bowie is also about boosting widening of digital innovation hubs. So as you see, this side is also about digital innovation hubs, but not only, because we have here the Smarties, which is open and will be opening, will have more open calls now along the year, okay, which is about a sustainable ecosystem for the adoption, ramp up, and transfer of emerging electronic solutions, okay. So this is an overview of the site, and also, as I said, under the other big initiative, ICT for manufacturing, okay, we have the same, okay, as we have the same inside. If you are interested on I4MS, you can go and see which are the projects and see the planning on 2021, okay? So here the topics are a bit different, okay? We have, for example, Better Factory, which will be having now an open call, which is about growing your manufacturing business. We have these projects, for example, which is about the value of joint experiments in digital technologies for manufacturing and construction, okay? So, as you say, there is a wide variety of topics or cascade funding, okay? So, as I said, you need to be aware of what's open, what's closed. So this is two important sources of information, okay? You have under the funding and tenders portal of the European Commission, there's a specific page for cascade funding, okay? In here, they put all the cascade funding calls which are open, okay? They don't put it before they are open, they just appear when they are open. That's why I say that it's important to go from time to time if you are interested to see what's open, because normally they are not, well, open for a really long time, okay? So it's important to see when they are open if you are interested to apply. We have also information on funding box in the spaces. We have some spaces about funding opportunities when people post all the funding opportunities that might be available regarding this cascade funding. And also there are also, well, other SMEs which you can network with and that might have some, well, interests aligned with yours, and you can, I don't know, go into a project with them or things like that, okay? So, well, this has been a brief introduction of the cascade funding. Then in the Q&As, if you have any question, you don't hesitate. We can get into more detail on anything, okay?
I'm sorry, Maria. I will just ask you to speak a little bit slower because for the translation it's
okay.
difficult to follow up what you're saying.
Okay,
so
yeah.
We do have time.
Okay, yeah, I will. Yeah. I always speak very quick, so yeah, I will try to slow down a little bit.
Thanks.
Okay, so now we are going into the, well, funding period of 2021-2027, okay, which is the inside Horizon Europe, the really well-known Horizon Europe, okay? So this, well, complicated figure here is a little bit the EU funding, okay? This is, well, as if you have been following a little bit the negotiations of the EU budget, okay? For the new period, you might have seen that it's been a little bit difficult to reach an agreement, okay, basically due to the COVID-19 crisis and the Brexit, basically, which have, well, affected quite a lot these negotiations, okay? So, well, but finally we do have an agreement. Well, as you also know, Horizon Europe is also getting more delayed than anybody thought, but anyway, we are almost there, okay? So, well, this is the EU budget for 2021-27, okay? This is, well, like the breakdowns of the different blocks of financing that we have. But anyway, the important thing of here is not the figures, of course, not interesting for us, but a little bit like the general picture, which is like more than 50% of the amount will support the modernization, okay, through the different programs that we have. Another very important figure, which is that 30% of the funds, okay, will be allocated to fighting climate change, okay? This is the highest share ever, and it's really showing the commitment of the European Commission towards fighting climate change through mainly the, well, is the climate Green Deal, which will be also a priority and which will be present actually in all the topics and really Horizon Europe and the other different, well, framework, programs that there will be, okay? Another thing, also very important, there will be an increased investment on digital transition. This is also very important for this new framework program, okay? They will be spending in digital transformation across the different programs, okay? They will be increasing the budget for the Connecting Europe facility, for example, which is this one here that already existed under Horizon 2020. It will be increased in Horizon Europe, okay? And there will be this new program, which is the Digital Europe program, which is one of the main novelties of this new EU budget, okay? Then they assure also the stability, okay? They will be still supporting these traditional policies that like the cohesion on the common agricultural policy, okay? And there will be also a strong focus on biodiversity protection and gender equality, okay? So this is basically the importance of this. As you say, as you see, sorry, in this number one, single market, innovation and digital is where we have Horizon Europe, okay? And we have these other two programs that we have already mentioned. And then another, well-known and important ones under the cohesion, resilience and values, okay? We have, for example, this Erasmus Plus and Creative Europe. Under the natural resources and environment, we have the LIFE program, the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund, etc. Okay, so now, I mean, we are going to focus on the most important for us for today, which is Horizon Europe. Okay, so as I was saying, okay, Horizon Europe is this new EU research and innovation program, okay? It will have a budget of around 95.5 billion euros, okay? Which make it the largest EU research and innovation framework, okay? Well, actually, this actually is a 30% increase, okay, comparing with Horizon 2020, which is a relevant increase, more if we take into account that now the United Kingdom is not in there, so it's really a huge increase, comparing to the previous one, okay? What it wants? Well, it wants to strengthen this EU scientific and technological basis and the European research area, okay? We want to boost Europe's innovation capacity, the competitiveness and jobs, okay? And also to deliver on citizens' priorities and sustain our socioeconomic model and values. So these are like the three priorities of Horizon Europe. And now, how are we going to do this? Well, we are going to do this through this implementation itself of Horizon Europe, okay? If you already know Horizon 2020, what you will see is that Horizon Europe is like a continuation, okay? Actually, the motto of Horizon Europe is, it is not a revolution, it is an evolution. And actually, it's what it is, okay? It's really, well, continuistic program, okay? Actually, this organization is very similar to the one of Horizon 2020, okay? Now I'm gonna explain you a little bit the different pillars, okay? Now in the following slides, I will get a little bit into detail, okay, in the different pillars, while putting a focus on what's in there for, especially for the SMEs, okay, where you might find most of your resources or programs interesting for you, okay? So as you can see, we have three pillars, okay, as I say. We have the first pillar, which is excellent science, okay? What it wants? Well, actually, it wants to reinforce and extend the excellence of the Union science base, okay? It will be done by these three programs that we have here. We have the ERC, the European Research Council, okay, directed at excellence researchers, okay, that want to, well, perform, projects in the frontier of science, okay. We have the Marie Curie actions, and we have the research infrastructures, okay. So this is the pillar one, more directed to researchers. Then we have the second pillar, which is about global challenges and European industrial competitiveness, okay? Here, what we want to boost the key technologies, okay, and solutions underpinning the EU policies and the Sustainable Development Goals. So here it's important to take into account which are the important EU policies. As I said, it's going to be very important for this, this framework program, the Green Deal, and also, well, anything related to digitalization, modernization, etc. Okay, so you need to take these things into account, okay? And well, this pillar is organized under this thematic cluster, okay? This thematic cluster, what they will be doing is addressing these global challenges, okay? This will be done through top-down collaborative activities, okay? So the main opportunities here will be in the form of collaborative projects, okay? Under the different thematics in which we have the clusters, okay? So the cluster, we have a cluster on health, okay, then we have a cluster on culture, creativity, and inclusive society. We have a cluster on civil security for society, another one, cluster 4 on digital industry and space, okay. Cluster 5 about climate, energy, and mobility. And finally, the cluster 6 on food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment, okay? So these are the clusters with the thematics. Then we will see how you can see what's in there for you, okay? And then in here, we also have this joint research center. Also important in this pillar is one of the main novelties that we have under Horizon Europe, that are the missions, okay? We will see then which are these missions, okay, but this is a novelty under Horizon Europe, okay, and these missions will have actually some specific goals, and they will be launched within this pillar, okay. Actually, around about 10% of pillar 2 will go to the missions itself. And then finally, we have this pillar 3. This pillar 3 is the more oriented towards SMEs, okay? It's about stimulating market, creating breakthroughs, okay? And ecosystems that will conduct to innovations, okay? So it has the European Innovation Council, which is also a novelty for this year, okay? For this year, not sorry, for this framework program. And well, this European Innovation Council is the one who is hosting this very well-known, it was called SME Instrument, and now is the EIC Accelerator, okay? In here, we also have European Innovation Ecosystems and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, okay? And then as a transversal thing, we have this widening participation and strengthening the European research area, which is about optimizing strengths and potential for a more innovative Europe. And then on the sides, but today we are not getting into that, we have the Euratom and the specific program of European Defense Fund, okay? So, well, as I was saying, main opportunities for SMEs, we will be finding them on pillar 2 and pillar 3, okay? And also, as I was saying, important is the missions, which is one of these key novelties of Horizon Europe, okay? That will be inside this pillar 2, okay? As I was saying, missions, what are these missions, okay? So this is somehow of a portfolio of actions, okay, across disciplines, and they are intended actually to achieve some bold and inspirational and measurable goals, okay, within a set time frame, okay? And they intend to have an impact for the society and for the policy making. They will be organized around what they call 5 mission areas, okay? We will have a mission on soil health and food, another one on cancer, another one on healthy oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters, another mission on climate neutral and smart cities, and finally, a mission on adaptation to climate change, including societal transformation, okay? Each of these missions, I will explain afterwards, they will be issuing its own work program also. So you will have topics inside each of these missions, okay? Okay, continuing. Now I'm gonna try to get into detail into the different pillars, okay? To explain you where the SMEs will find most of the opportunities. Okay, so in the pillar 1, as we said, this is mainly focused on researchers, okay, as it aims at reinforcing and extending the excellence of the union science base, okay. Even though the primary focus are researchers, there are also some opportunities, okay, where the SMEs can participate. So these opportunities are under the Marie Curie actions, okay. So they can bring the SMEs the possibility to collaborate with the research organizations, okay. So they can have access to the equipment that is only found in an academic institution, okay, and to work with these highly skilled researchers that are only found in the academia environment. So these collaborations, they come normally in the form of secondments of the researchers into these non-academic sectors, which will be the SMEs, okay? So this is very much related to hosting SMEs, hosting these researchers into the SMEs, okay? So yeah, this is the pillar we can say is the least interesting for the SMEs. So another pillar is the pillar 2, as we said, global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. Okay, so this is a pillar where there are many different opportunities for SMEs, okay? So they come normally in the form of collaborative projects, okay? These are the usually a normal collaborative projects as the ones that were in Horizon 2020, okay? Normally a wide consortium, at least 3 different EU countries, okay? Normally, rather we can say complicated, we can define them, okay, or time-consuming proposals, okay, that yeah, will be addressed to the different topics that will be inside the different clusters, okay. So, well, in this pillar, I would say we have a different set of clusters. So your opportunities, obviously, will come in the cluster which will be aligned to your priorities or to your areas of interest. To put an example, you are an SME working on the energy field, okay, so you will be paying attention and following the cluster for climate, energy, and mobility, okay? It's important to note that every cluster will be having a different work program, okay? These work programs are normally biannual. Now we will be having the 2021-2022 work program, okay? I say we will be having because we were hoping to have already the final work programs, but we don't. As we said, due to the delays that, well, are in this Horizon Europe, okay? There are already some open calls like the European Research Council, the EIC Accelerator that we will see afterwards, but we don't have yet the final and approved work program of the different clusters, okay? We do have drafts and they are available online, okay? The Commission has published those drafts and they are available on their transparency register, okay? So an easy way to get them is just typing in Google work program 21-22 cluster climate, energy, and mobility. For example, you will most likely find it, okay? They say that they are not really expected to change a lot the content. So actually what they recommend is for you to begin to work in the projects if you are interested in any of these topics, okay? So, well, as I said, you are interested in, for example, in this climate, energy, and mobility. So you will be having a look to these work programs, okay? Under this work program is where we will find these different destinations. Now the topics are organized under destinations, which are somehow the desired impacts, okay? And inside this destination, we have the topics, okay? So yeah, recommendation always to look to these topics with a lot of time in order to be able to build these projects with time, okay? So yeah, after the, together with this cluster, okay, we have these mission areas. As we said, is one of these main novelties of Horizon Europe, okay? They are intended to be high ambition, high profile initiatives, okay? That will put forward some concrete solution to the challenges that are facing the European societies and the European citizens and society. Okay, so well, as we said, these are the 5 mission areas. Okay, these missions will be also issuing separated work programs. Okay, but well, the funding of these the work programs of these missions will not come this year. Now they are issuing some coordination and support actions actually to design these missions. Okay, so we are not expecting actually topics to develop inside these missions until at least 2022 or 2023, as we are seeing the delays that are coming. Okay. So yeah, this is about the pillar 2 of global challenges. Okay. Now, after this pillar 2, we have the pillar 3, which, as we said, well, is the most interesting for SMEs. Okay, so it's because it's about stimulating market creating breakthroughs. Okay, and ecosystems that will conduct to an innovation. Okay. Under this pillar 3 is where the SMEs will find several opportunities, okay, as what this pillar 1 actually is to reinforce the innovative capacities of Europe, okay, through supporting the development and deployment of these disruptive and market-creating innovations, okay? So how Europe wants to do this, okay? Well, he wants to do it with these opportunities, okay? Under the European Innovation Council, actually, we have 2 main opportunities. We have the EIC Pathfinder, okay? It's important to note that this opportunity is more related to the early steps of development, okay? If you are aware with the TRLs or technology readiness levels, okay? This is for TRLs, which are below 3 and 4, okay? So here, the SMEs, okay, they can participate, but taking into account that its aim is supporting the development of breakthrough technologies, okay, which are key to disruptive innovations, okay? So as I said, early steps of development, and they have a bottom-up basis, okay? They are open to any topic. So, well, any topic can apply for this EIC Pathfinder. Then we have the EIC Accelerator, okay, which is the most interesting, well, mechanism for the SMEs. Actually, this is a mechanism just developed for SMEs. Actually, it's only SMEs and startups, the ones that can participate in this EIC Accelerator, okay? And these are, well, this accelerator is about projects that they are developed by just one SME, okay? You don't need a consortium. This is not about collaborative projects, okay? This is just projects for one company, okay? As I said, dedicated instruments for SMEs, startups, and mid-caps. It has a bottom-up basis, but as we see, one of the main novelties of this EIC Accelerator is that now it also has some challenges, so some specific challenges where the companies can apply, but will also be open together with the open challenges, okay? So it will remain with this bottom-up basis also. These projects are normally more towards innovative and close to market activities, okay? So the projects begin with a TRL, technology readiness level, which is around 5 or 6, okay? And through the project, you are developing these projects, which will actually go to a TRL, which will be at the end of the project, a TRL 8, which is before getting into the market, okay? So you will get the grant component for that. And this also, a novelty, it also funds activities for TRL 9, but in the form of equity, because TRL 9 is already activities, well, into the market, let's say, okay? Like marketing and things like that. So this EIC Accelerator has, let's say, changed a lot, we will say. Before it was the SME instrument, and now it's the EIC Accelerator, and there has been a set of changes, okay? Here I'm gonna explain a little bit the main, well, the common Characteristics of this EIC accelerator. As I said, it can be bottom up. It will always be this EIC accelerator open, but the novelty is that now it has some challenges, okay? A couple of top-down topics. These topics will be changing depending on the year and on the priorities of the European Commission, okay? On 2021, we have these two challenges, EIC accelerator challenges that they call it, okay? We have the strategic digital and health technologies, and then we have the Green Deal innovations for the economic recovery. As I said, both of them are open at the same time, so if you don't fit in the challenges, it's fine, you can just go to the bottom up, okay? What's the type of support that they give you? As I said, well, normally let's say the preferred mechanism of support is the blended finance. This means a grant, combined with equity. As I said, the grant is for anything up to TRL 8 before the market, introduction into the market, let's say, and it's between 0.5 and 2.5 million euros, okay? And then we have the equity component. That is only for TRL 9 activities, okay? And you can apply for an equity between 500,000 and 50 million euros, okay? Then you also have the opportunity, if you don't want the equity component, okay, to go for the grant only. The thing is that they recommend you to go for the blended finance, because if you go for the grant only, you really need to explain where you will be getting the money for the scaling up of your project, okay? So you really need to explain that on the application itself. And then they have a new type of support, which they call it grant first, okay, which is a grant, and then once the project is initiated, they will make a follow-up on the equity component, okay? This is certain projects where the innovation is based on a scientific discovery, for example, or a novel technology, okay, that still requires a significant work to validate and demonstrate in relevant environments in order to properly assess its commercial potential. So at the beginning, you don't really know how much equity or how's the equity that you are gonna need, okay? So then first you are gonna begin the project, make some developments, and then you will see what happens with the equity. Following up a little bit with this EIC accelerator. Okay, so before it was like a normal, let's call it a normal EU proposal, okay? You had a template, you completed the template, and you uploaded this template on the funding and tenders portal, but now they have this EIC artificial intelligence IT platform. So it's a, let's say, different platform, okay, that you have to actually complete all the things. There's not a template, okay? You just complete the things inside the platform itself, okay? That at the beginning is a bit difficult, but anyway, you will get used at the end. Then, as we said, bottom up and top down, okay? And now a new thing, because one of the main, well, let's say, critics that the EIC SME instrument used to have is that is highly competitive, okay? There was like a success rate of around 2 and 3%, so there were many complaints on it. So now what they did is to limit resubmission, okay? They limit resubmission, so you can submit twice. If you get a no-go twice, you have to wait 1 year to resubmit again. So what they intend with this is to lower competition, okay, on this, okay? And then they will be giving more support for SMEs in the form of coaching services, okay? And this is the new selection process, okay? So now, before it was only one phase, okay? Now it has, let's say, 2 phases, okay? If you want to apply, first you have to go for the short proposal, okay? For short proposal is 5-page proposal is, as I said, there is not a template. These 5 pages is the equivalent in the EIC IT platform, okay? Because you need to introduce directly there the answers. There are normally some boxes with a limited characters to introduce there, okay? You have a pitch deck and a video, okay? It's already open and this continuous submission. So if you are interested, you can submit anytime, okay? You will get the submission in 4 to 6 weeks. You get the go or the no-go. You get the go, we go to this full proposal, okay? Which is around the equivalent of 20 pages. And then here is where you get these coaching services by the European Commission, okay? We have 2 deadlines in June and then in October, okay, of this year, but there's no need to rush, and there will be further yearly deadlines until 2027. So as a resubmission will be penalized, you really need to prepare a competitive proposal, so just take your time, okay? Results in 5 to 6 weeks. And then you go to this remote evaluation. If you get the go, you will go through a jury of experts, okay? Well, they will assess your project. You will be able to present your pitch deck. They will make you a set of questions, and then you will get these results in 2 to 3 weeks, okay? If you are successful, you will get the go, and you will go to this grant and due diligence, okay? So this is a brief introduction of this EIC accelerator. I went into so much detail because normally it's the most preferred for the SMEs, okay? Now finishing with the, I'm like 3 minutes after my time, but I still have a couple of slides. It's okay, no? Yeah, okay. So yeah, in this pillar 3, okay, we have these 2 other things, which is the European innovation ecosystem, okay? Here, the SMEs might find interesting resources, under this pillar, because, well, these interesting resources, are more related to best practice sharing, okay, networking with other innovation actors, as it will support the EIC by creating a forum for innovative policies, okay, where the different actors might be able to participate. So this is the European innovation ecosystem. Then after this, we have the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, okay, that has a challenge-driven approach, okay, where these knowledge and innovation communities, also known as KICs, and their portfolio of activities are included, okay. They go from the entrepreneurial education and training to innovation projects, business creation activities, okay, and these business support services for startups, scale-ups, SMEs. Okay, so yeah, here you can also find some interesting, well, projects different than the previous one, but also interesting in another dimension, okay? Then to finish with this, I'm just gonna briefly name that we also have partnerships, okay? That might be interesting because the partnerships, they also issue and finance collaborative projects, okay? They have been revamped in Horizon Europe, okay, in order to have a new generation of objective-driven and more ambitious partnerships in support of agreed EU policy objectives, okay, with some key features which are a simple architecture and toolbox. They used to be a bit difficult to follow in Horizon 2020, so they intended to make them easier and more comprehensive and Horizon Europe, okay. They want to have a common set of criteria, a coherent life cycle approach, and a strategic orientation, okay? And they will be organized under 3 types. We have the co-program that will have topics that are inside this cluster of Horizon Europe, okay? So inside the cluster, for example, of energy and mobility that we were seeing, there will be the co-program partnerships will have a part on this work program where they say that is about these partnerships and the topics that they are financing, okay? Then we have some co-funded ones that they are funded also through Horizon Europe, and then some institutionalized that they will have independent work programs. So they are outside the work programs of the topic of the cluster, sorry, okay? So this is the overview, okay? So as I said, it's always important to have in mind which cluster is of your interest, okay? Because in here, for example, you can see, as we said, I'm interested on climate, energy, and mobility, and here I can say the different kind of partnerships that are available, okay? For example, clean aviation, clean hydrogen, some others that were well known, like the Circular Biobase Europe, which was the previous BBI, or this Made in Europe, which was these Factories of the Future, okay? So some of the ones of Horizon 2020 have been, now they are also running in Horizon Europe. There has been some changes in the names, we can say. Here is the EITs that we were talking about. And then we have these innovative SMEs where this Eurostar program is inside, okay? And just this final slide, just to tell you that not everything is about Horizon Europe, okay? We have some programs outside Horizon Europe, but inside this framework program of 2021-2027, okay? So in environment, we have the LIFE program. If it's about training, we have Erasmus. About culture, we have Creative Europe. If we are speaking about digitalization, we have the Digital Europe program. And finally, on transport, energy, and communication, we have this Connecting Europe facility. Okay, so, well, that was about it. I know it was a lot of information. So if you have any question, now we can discuss it, or then you can also drop me an email if you want.
Thank you so much, Maria. It was a really clear view of the fundings that exist for SMEs. It is true that we are starting Horizon Europe, so it's still a little bit difficult for people to understand exactly how it will work. But I think that it really follows what H2020 was doing. As you said, it's a continuation.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of opportunities, and I believe that they are actually improved, namely the SME instrument. So, Maria, thank you.
You're welcome.
She said she is available for your questions. Actually, we do not have questions here by now, but I can do one. For you, you probably have experience of this funding for SMEs, and what you see that is the major challenge for an SME to write a proposal. I'm asking you this in the sense that sometimes, of course, you know your idea, you know your product, and you are for sure passionate about your product, but you have to present it to a jury, to the Europe, and you have to really understand that there's always challenges that shall be addressed. How do you fit your idea into this challenge, to this destination? Because that's actually what the Horizon Europe is calling. So is that one of the major challenges of the SMEs, to fit their product into the challenges?
Yeah, well, I think at the beginning, for me, the main barrier sometimes to the SMEs is first to know which is the right instrument for them, okay? Because actually, as you have seen, is quite difficult, the EU funding scenario, let's say. So I think that sometimes it's very difficult, that is already a challenge for them to identify the correct instrument to apply to, okay? And then, for example, as you were saying, in the clusters, okay, if you want to apply to a topic, I think that one of the also barrier for them might be to have the right contacts, let's say, okay, because as we said, they are normally collaborative and international projects, okay, so sometimes it's difficult for an SME to get these contacts, for example, in order to build a competitive proposal, okay. What they can do, well, either they can through the funding and tenders portal, okay, they can publish their idea or themselves there. They can also try to go to these networking events, or in the info days where you have these matchmaking events. Also is a good way to get contacts at the end, and also to get, to have contacts in academia, for example, which they usually is easier for the RTOs or for the universities to get this international network to build competitive proposals. So I think that's rather a challenge. Then we're getting into writing. Also, well, the main challenge is because it's time consuming, and the SMEs normally they don't have the time to devote to this writing. So I know it's rather challenging for SMEs to get these projects. That's why usually the cascade funding is very attractive for them.
Yeah. So actually they should follow first the advice that Professor Lars left. So if you go to a network event or you go to a conference, do your objective like 10 people that you should know, and prepare yourself for that interaction, of course.
Definitely.
It's really important. So thank you again for your time and for this explanation. It's always good to hear about how to get the resources for our ideas. Thank you. So
thank you.
Just We still have time for questions if you want to from the audience. Otherwise, I will share my screen. But first, Maria, you have to stop sharing your screen. I hope that you enjoyed our event. I think that we had really nice presentations. Not only here about nanotechnology, but also how to get money, because there's a lot of instruments that we can use.
Oh, sorry, but I cannot
Stop sharing.
sharing. I don't know why. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's happening, but I don't see the options. Wait.
Maybe down there.
Yeah.
I will ask for some help.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go. Perfect. So now it's my time. I'll share. Mm-hmm. I hope that you can see my screen right now and in the presentation mode. Okay. So just some words to close this event. Normally we start by speaking about the project in the beginning, but we had such interesting talks that I think that we can speak it about in the end. This event is organized in the scope of NANOEATERS, a project that most of you know because most of you are participating. The NANOEATERS, just a moment because I'm not able to change. There you go. So NANOEATERS has the goal of creating this cross-border network of research centers towards overcoming the challenge of the Valley of Death, so the deployment of technology into the market. So to foster this cross-border collaborative RTD, there was an activity related to the development of 10 use cases in a collaborative work of Galician RTD centers and INL. There was an exchange of this experience and experiments with some SMEs that you are now, and to actually receive these technologies as early adopters of the developed use cases. So to foster this technology transfer to the market, the other activities, 3 or 4, were related to the development of experimentos, so the experiments by the SMEs to try these developed technologies and give the feedback to the research centers that developed. And there's of course support to these companies. This event is one of the activities related to that, and the goal is to obtain a prototype for commercial exploitation, of course. All of this has a major goal. We all heard about the Valley of Death. It is really difficult to pass years and years in research, creating technology, and then there's a huge difficulty to bring it to the market. So NANOEATERS was created to help to overcome this Valley of Death, this difficulty. So just to finish, I would like to thank, first of all, your participation. So thank you, obrigada, gracias, to all of you for being here, for participating. I would like to also thank to all the partners at the partners of NANOEATERS, especially Gain, the coordinator of the project. And finally, last but not least, to POCTEP for all the funding, all the support that we had that finally allowed us to help research to get into the market. So that's it. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.